Okay, perfect. All right. Yeah, thank you,
Yep.
Ken, and welcome to everyone. So happy to see so many people joining us here today. As Ken said, we have a major release that's coming up on April 26th, which is Monday. And so this is really sort of our pre-launch event for that release on Monday. But something else that we've done over the last year or so since FBO first was brought into beta.sam.gov was to hold some smaller events that allow us to really get feedback and questions from people more directly. And in those events, we typically go into a little bit more depth on the search functionality. And because contract opportunities search is such a major part of beta.sam.gov, today, in addition to really providing an overview to help you prepare for what's going to happen on Monday, we also have a demo that goes in to the contract opportunities search a little more in depth and really shows you how it works and hopefully gives you some tips about it's based on a lot of the questions that we have received over the last year. So if those are questions that you also share, hopefully you'll pick up a little bit more about the search that you didn't know, in addition to preparing for the launch next week. So those were really our two sort of tandem goals for this session today. One, prepare you for the launch, and two, provide some more in-depth information, insight into how our search works in the process. So I have a few overview slides introducing you to our program. And then after I get through these overview slides, I will go through an overview of what's going to happen on Monday of next week, on the 26th. And then also we have another major release that's going to happen on May 24th. So I'm going to look at both of those two release dates and give you a sense of what's going to be the same and what's going to be different. And it's specifically going to be targeted towards people who are moving from beta.sam or who are using beta.sam.gov today. So once we talk about those two releases, we will have a 15-minute demo that is going to focus specifically on the contract opportunity search. And like I said, it was put together based on some of our most frequently asked questions. Then at the end, we've got a couple of poll questions looking at a significant enhancement that won't be part of the April 26th launch. It's something that's currently in design. And since we had so many people on the call, we wanted to take that opportunity and get your feedback on how useful this next iteration was going to be. And then we'll leave some time, as always, at the end for some Q&A. So this slide here is for those of you who are new to beta.sam.gov and our program. It's a slide that gives you an overview of our program office. So our program office serves really as stewards for a number of government-wide contracting and grants functions. So we work very closely with policymakers and operations managers at the 24 CFO agencies, as well as smaller agencies and other federal government bodies. And we really work on behalf of them as stewards for common award processes. So these are government-wide functions related to contracting and grants. You can see here a list reducing barriers, increasing transparency, increasing accountability, reducing reporting burden, and increasing data quality integrity. That really is our mantra for moving forward. Some of these things, increasing accountability while reducing burden at the same time. There's a balance there, but these are the things that we really try to balance in putting together these government-wide systems. Next. So you see a list on the left of what systems we manage. Beta.sam.gov is at the top. This is where you find contract opportunities, formerly was FBO.gov. We originally had 10 of these systems, and systems like FBO, also a grant system called CFDA.gov, and then wage determinations, WDOL.gov, have so far been consolidated into beta.sam.gov. And then you see the rest of the systems that we still have in the queue. CPARS, past performance, subaward systems. We have FAPIS, integrity information. FPDS, we have migrated the reports over, but the rest of that system to come over. And then SAM.gov itself. You can see some numbers on the right. These are numbers for our overall program, looking more specifically at beta.sam.gov. Right now, we have more than 300,000 users who have signed up with login.gov and who sign in to beta.sam.gov. We typically host around 90,000 active contract opportunities at any given time. And in terms of the number of users, for example, in January of 2021, users ran just about 7 million searches executed across beta.sam, and we estimate that about 90% of those are of contract opportunities. So that gives you a little bit of an idea of the scope of what we do. And so next slide. This gives you a picture of just a really high level view of our transition roadmap. You can see what we have already decommissioned, and then you can see SAM.gov is next in line. Which brings me to the next slide. So since we first launched beta.sam.gov, really with the decommissioning of CFDA, and more recently with FBO and the FPDS reports, we have had everything branded in this new modernized environment as beta.sam.gov. And we've been operating beta.sam.gov alongside of SAM.gov. So a sense of urgency definitely for the program to really bring those things together so that we can get rid of that beta and simply have a SAM.gov. So May 24th of this year, 2021, this will become reality. We will achieve this. So in preparation for that, we have a launch on April 26th, where since we first launched beta.sam, that was in August of 2017. A lot has changed since then. There are new federal standards for user interface design. We've added a lot of new functionality. And SAM itself is a very large system, and so we've had to make room for that coming in as well. So what we really want to do is take users of beta.sam.gov and transition them to our new experience with the site first on April 26th. And then on May 24th, we will bring in the users of SAM.gov, really staggering beta.sam.gov users coming in first with SAM.gov users coming in a month later, so that we're not trying to transition everybody all at the same time. So that's why we really have two major releases coming up, is so we can bring in the two separate audiences one at a time. So today is mostly going to focus on that first transition in April. Next slide. All right, so this right here shows you, and I've got a number of screenshots, and we'll go through them fairly quickly, but just showing you what that looks like. So this is what you see today in beta.sam.gov. And if we look at the next two slides, next Monday, can you go back one? Yeah. So next Monday, when you go to beta.sam.gov, it's going to bring you to this new experience. You will have a modal dialog that's going to pop up. It's going to tell you what has changed. And then if you don't want to see the message again, you can click Do Not Show. Okay. And then this is the new homepage that you will see. Can you go back a couple slides, Alexis? So this is what you see this week, and then two slides down. And this is what you're going to see next Monday. So you can see it's quite different. There are links to landing pages where we've created experiences for each one of those different areas. And we'll go through this in more detail. Next slide. So this is just going in and summarizing. I think I've already talked a little bit about this, why we're changing. So we've tried to make it a lot easier to find, and this is primarily based on user feedback, different information people have had trouble finding. So we've tried to make it easier to find information on the site. We've made some changes to the search design. There's also new federal standards that have come into play since we first launched. So we've had to update our look and feel to be in alignment with those. And then we've held a lot of focus groups, workshops, interviews. We've collected almost 35,000 comments from our online feedback tool that we've analyzed and categorized, plus service desk issues, digital analytics. So a whole lot of feedback is really behind a lot of these changes as well. This is a summary of what's changing. I have pictures that show what almost all of this is. So I think rather than going through this list right here, I think we can go straight to the pictures. So if you look at the, there's something, once you sign in, you have a signed in landing page, and we call it the workspace. And this is what it looks like today. And if we look at the next slide, it shows you what it's going to look like next week. So if we could just go back and forth between those, you'll notice that the header is different and there's a different footer, but the page itself is actually the same. This is your signed in landing page where you have shortcuts to your saved searches, to the things that you're following. If you've done any large downloads that take time, there'll be links where you can access those when they're finished. Our notifications and a link to your user profile. So none of the actual meat of this page is changing. It's just header or footer rebranding. If you go to the next pair of slides, there is a contract opportunities report that you can run as a public user. And if you look, this page again is the same. It has the new header, it's going to have the new footer, but this is not changing the way it behaves. And then if you go to the next pair, these are the file extracts if you want to download the files with raw contract opportunities data. And you can see that those file extracts are the same, again, just rebranding. And if you look at the header and footer, you'll see that the menu items are essentially the same. They are more visible now, much easier to find. They're not hidden beneath that, that little pop-out that you have today. But you'll see data services is still data services, data bank. The help is now called help instead of learning center. But a lot of these major, substantial pieces of the site are remaining the same. Next. Another look at the header menus side by side. You can see the home. Search is now, it's no longer that search icon. It's a main menu item. But we've got data bank, data services. The learning center is now help. Instead of icons for notifications and requests, you can see that they're written out. And then the workspace is moved up with all of your other functionality that's only available when you're signed in. So a lot of the overall site architecture has not changed. The other significant change in the footer really is the feedback tool. The feedback tool right now appears in the sidebar on a lot of the pages. It's going to work the same. We still welcome you to provide free text input. So there's no restrictions on what you can say here. We do a lot of analysis of that, but having those raw comments is actually really, really helpful. So the way that it works has not changed, but you'll find it now at the bottom of every page. So the home page has changed significantly. And this home page, the reason it's so different is that we've done an awful lot of iteration. We've been showing the home page in prototype form at various workshops and forums over the last couple of years and done really slow iteration on it, a little bit at a time. We'll take, put it in front of people, get feedback, go in, incorporate those changes into the prototype, put it in front of another group of people, sometimes the same people. And over time, it's really evolved into what you see here today. So this was not a quick switch from one experience to the other. This actually matured over quite a long time. And you'll see here on the splash area at the top, where you've got links into the different areas of the site. The search bar is moved down a little bit. And then you'll also see something new, announcements on the page. And these announcements will mirror what you have over at the Federal Service Desk. And slowly over time, you'll see that we'll be doing more and more integration between functionality at Federal Service Desk and beta.sam.gov, and really ultimately SAM.gov. So you'll have the on the SAM page itself, a place where you can go in and look for the latest announcements, and really trying to move as much as possible in terms of what's coming next onto the site itself. Then each of the different areas of the site, we call them domains. They, in some cases, correspond to legacy systems. For example, contract opportunities does correspond to the legacy FBO functionality that you had. We now call it a domain, contract opportunities, at this site. But there's not necessarily a one-to-one correspondence between legacy systems and domains like there is here. So these landing pages replace some static pages that we had in our Learning Center. And if you look at them, the Learning Center pages were mostly text, just describing what was going on, but didn't really have a lot of functionality. The new landing pages, we've made a lot of effort to take and integrate functionality alongside the documentation. So you'll see that the search, you can start your search, and really this is the, we've tried to make this the easiest way to start a search, is really coming in here to the domain and then starting a search of contract opportunities. And then you'll see there's a couple of drop downs. One of them is open, that has documentation for contract opportunities for both the advanced search and the basic search capabilities. We learned that a lot of people weren't finding our advanced search filters, so we've added in a link specifically to make those visible much more easily. And then the top, what you see on the left is the top of the page. If you look on the right, you see the bottom of the page. And I want to draw your attention to those green buttons. And those green buttons are going to take you to different parts of the site that have contract opportunities functionality. So for example, the data bank has all of our reports. You can get to those reports from that data bank link in the main menu. But if you're really just interested in contract opportunities, then you can come to this landing page and have all things contract opportunities available from here as well. So under Opportunities Reports, there's a little green button that'll take you straight to the Contract Opportunities Report. There's under Download Data Files, there's buttons to take you to Contract Opportunities data, to the Buy American Act data. So this is under Data Services, but what we're really doing is providing shortcuts from this Contract Opportunities page that takes you specifically to the data services, the data bank, those things just for contract opportunities. So it gives you a couple of different ways to navigate the site. And if you really want that contract opportunities focus, this is where to start. Next slide. So what's going to change? So the search, we've done a lot of changes to the look and feel of the search, and you'll see that in the demo in a minute when you see how these work. We've tightened up the search filters on the side so that you can see all of the filters at the same time. You'll see a couple of improvements to some of the individual filters. We're working on tightening up the layout of this as well. Next. If you go to the help page on the new site, you'll see it's really a facade that's going to take you pretty quickly into help content that we've moved over to the Federal Service Desk. So we will be hosting all of our frequently asked questions, our videos, all of those articles, those in-depth articles. They will be hosted at Federal Service Desk. but you will see links into them from various places throughout the SAM.gov site. And that's going to be really progressively moving more and more towards a more integrated experience between these two sites. Okay, next. Yeah. All right, so that's a lot of what is going to happen on Monday, on April 26th. I only have a couple slides here on the May 24th merge. And what's going to happen on that day is that you're going to go to beta.sam.gov on May 24th, and you will automatically be redirected to sam.gov. There's going to be a single URL. The beta is going to be gone. The login for everything that's currently in beta SAM and SAM is just going to be a single account. The homepage that you see on Monday, that new homepage that I just showed you, is going to have additional functionality on it specific to entity registrations, exclusions, and entity reporting that we've brought over from SAM. Your search is going to include entity information. And if you go to your workspace, you will have links there to register an entity. So all of this is really going to be integrated together. And I have a couple of slides then that show what that looks like. So this is the homepage that you will see on Monday before the merge. And then on May 24th, again, you will have that pop-up dialog that's going to tell you what the change is all about. And when you close that, you will see the same exact homepage with the new design, but you'll see all of the additional functionality has been added. So the entity registration links, the entity reporting and exclusion links, and all of the links to register an entity will be added into the page, and you'll see the beta is gone, and it is now all sam.gov. So again, next week, we're bringing all of our beta users over to this experience. And then on May 24th, we will be bringing in all of our sam.gov users. And for those of you who want to know more about that transition, we have another stakeholder forum. This is the third one in the series that Ken was talking about, and that's going to be on May 5th. And there's, I think there's a link at the end of the presentation to our Interact site. If you're not already following us on Interact, you can look for announcements for this forum on Interact moving forward.
Yeah, I just put the, this is Ken again, I just put the link to our Interact homepage in the regular chat log, not the Q&A chat log. So it's there, so everybody can click on it. You can just follow us, you know, by your own volition there, or if you sign up and give your email, you'll get notified every time that we post something there. So the link's in the chat log.
All right, thanks, Ken. Yeah, all right, so so with that, we have about a 15-minute demo. This has been pre-recorded. We took a lot of questions that are recurring questions that we have gotten throughout the last year, and we've taken and incorporated them into some scenarios in this video and put it together. And it's going to go into in-depth search functionality. So with that, I will ask Alexis to play the video for the next 15 minutes, and then we'll come back with a couple poll questions and then some Q&A. So thank you very much.
So what are you interested in searching for?
I have a lead on an opportunity that might be a good match, but I'd also like to see what else is out there right now.
Do you have a notice ID for this first opportunity?
I do.
Let's search on that notice first.
Do I need to be signed in to search contract opportunities?
You can search for opportunities and most other data without signing in. But if you want to use all the features and functions of SAM.gov, like saving searches or following specific opportunities, you will need to have a SAM.gov account and to sign in. Let's start by finding your opportunities first. There are a few different ways to find contract opportunities from the home page. Since you are new to the system, let's start by selecting Contract Opportunities on the home page. This will take you to the Contract Opportunities landing page or Contract Opportunities home. And this page provides all of the information you need to get started with contract opportunities, including search.
Got it.
Do you have your notice ID? If you enter it here, it's easy to get to the opportunity you are looking for. If you select it, you will see the details.
That looks like the right opportunity. But it looks like it's changed a few times. Is there a way I can be notified if it changes again?
You will have to sign in for that. So why don't you go ahead and sign in now?
Will I need to search for this opportunity all over again if I sign in?
No. Once you've signed in, you will automatically be returned to the same page. Now that you are signed in, select Follow, and you will receive an email every time this opportunity changes. Congratulations, you found and started following your first opportunity.
I'd also like to see what other cybersecurity opportunities are available, so I'm going to try searching for cybersecurity. But I really just want the training opportunities. Can I add training to my search?
Yes. If you want to add a keyword, you add it to the keyword filter on the left. If you enter it into the search bar at the top, you're going to clear all of your filters and start over with a new search.
I originally had 34 results, and now I have more than 2,000. What happened?
Your original search gave you all of the cybersecurity results. Now you have all the results that are either cybersecurity or training.
Not cybersecurity and training?
Cybersecurity or training. But you will see that the cybersecurity and training results are at the top because they are the most relevant. Our search algorithm uses OR to give you results that match at least one of your keywords. It also gives you all the potential matches with the best matches first.
Got it. Some of these opportunities look old. How do I get to the most recent opportunities?
Well, we're using test data because we are in a test environment. So some of our data here is not up to date. One option is to sort by date, but then you won't be sorting by relevance. The most recent results might not be the most relevant results. To get a good combination of the results that are most relevant and most recent, you can add a date filter. You can filter by the last updated date to show only those results that have been updated recently. The updated date also lets you see how long the most recent information has been available. Another option is that you can filter by the date a response is due to see the opportunities you have enough time to respond to. All of the date filters have predefined ranges that you can easily select, or you can input custom dates.
That's great. So I have a few leads at the Department of Defense. I'd also like to filter by DoD if possible. Can I type in an agency here?
You can type in either the agency name or the agency code if you know it. The federal hierarchy has 3 levels for civilian agencies and 7 levels for Department of Defense. Right now, we only support filtering at the top 2 levels. The first level is department or independent agency, and the second level is called the sub-tier level. In the future, we will be expanding to additional levels.
What if I can't find the agency I'm looking for?
If you click on the Advanced button, you can use our Advanced selector for the federal hierarchy. The filters, they can help you narrow down your selections to the DoD, and then you can look for your sub-tier from there. You can also search by industry. Do you know your industry codes, like your NAICS codes or product service codes?
I have them right here.
From the Contract Opportunities landing page, you can select Advanced Search to go straight to the Advanced Search filters.
Then I use the product and service filters to search for opportunities that match my codes.
Exactly.
It looks like these are the top level 2-digit NAICS categories.
They are, but if you start typing in the first 2 digits of your code, you will then see the full codes come up for that industry.
Then I can also use a state filter to narrow results to just those in my state. And I can use the set-aside filter to find my set-aside categories.
Yeah, and you can also filter by notice type. You might just want to see sources sought, pre-solicitations, or solicitations. I would encourage you to explore all of the filters to see what's available. If there's anything you want to filter by that you don't see, you can select more filters to view additional options. Now that we've covered the simplest ways to search just for contract opportunities, let me show you the other options. The search bar on the home page gives you a quick way to launch a search. Do you still have that notice ID we used earlier? You can enter it into the search bar here and go straight to your results. If you don't select anything in the dropdown, the system will search across all of our domains. This means that it will search assistance listings, federal hierarchy, and the wage determinations too. Even though you searched across all domains, because you used a notice ID, it was still pretty easy to find the right notice. You will see though, that all of the contract opportunities search filters are not available. There are only a couple filters that are applicable for all domains. To see the advanced search filters with your search results, select Contract Opportunities as the domain. Enter the keyword search and go to the results page, and there they will appear.
What if I forget to select a domain?
If you need to get to the advanced search filters, you can always select a domain from the search results page. You can also get back to search from any page on the site using the search link here in the main menu.
And if I do that and need the advanced filters, I just select my domain.
Perfect. You may notice now that we're signed in, the Interested Vendor List, or IVL, is available. Here, you can see other vendors who have indicated an interest in this notice and add yourself to the list. To access the Interested Vendor List, it's important to remember that there are 3 prerequisites for the IVL to appear on a notice. First, the federal contracting officer who manages the notice must choose to enable the IVL. In some cases, the contracting officer will not enable this function and it will not be shown on the notice. Second, you must have a role assigned to your account from an entity registered in SAM. This means that a business or entity needs to have an active registration, and the administrator of that entity must assign the role to your account. And then third, you must be signed in to your account to join the IVL.
So if I'm signed in and I have a role with my organization and I go to an opportunity record and I do not see the interested vendor list on the record, then that means that the federal agency in charge of the solicitation did not activate the IVL option when they published the opportunity?
Yes, exactly.
I've entered my search criteria, and now I'd like to save my search so I can run it again later. I don't see how to save it.
So remember, you have to be signed in to save searches or download results.
If I sign in now, am I going to lose my search filters?
No, you won't lose anything. After you sign in, you will land back here and you will be able to save your search. Now that you are signed in, you have an actions menu where you will find tools for things like saving searches and downloading your results. You also have links to move back and forth between searching and your saved searches. You can select the actions menu and then choose save. Name your search. And now you'll notice that the name of your search appears at the top of your results. There's also an indicator that shows you that this is a saved search. If you edit your saved search, the indicator changes to let you know that you have changed the criteria since you last saved it. If you edit a saved search, you can save it again, updating your search, or you can save it as a new search and give it a new name.
That's great. Most of my searches are similar, so it's nice that I can save one, then modify it, and save it with a new name instead of starting over every time. Now, if I select Save Searches, I can see what I've saved.
That's right. These are your saved searches. Look at the Actions menu to see all of your options. You can edit the name of the search, duplicate it, delete it, sign up for notifications, and download your results.
If I wanted to, I could duplicate a search and edit it. Then I'd have two similar versions of my search that I could run.
Yes.
That would save me time again. It's another way I can use one of my saved searches as the starting point for a new search. And I can sign up for notifications. Does that mean I will be notified when there are new results that match my search?
Right again. The system will run your search every night and then send you an email when there are new results. The email will include a link to just see the new results. It will also include a link to run the entire search again.
Will I have to be signed in to see the new results?
You don't have to be signed in to see the new results, but if you do want to run the entire saved search again, you will be prompted to sign in. Just click on the link in the email and it will take you through the sign in and then to your search results.
What about the download button? Does this mean I can download search results directly from here without running the search?
It does. Also, if you select the arrow on the far right, you can see the details of your search.
That's great. I don't always remember what I name my searches. What happens if I accidentally delete a search?
So the system will prompt you to make sure that you really want to delete it. Once you've deleted a search, it is gone. So it's a good idea to look at your saved search details beforehand in the event that you're not sure what search you are actually wanting to delete.
That's a good tip. Right now, I just want to run my search again, so I'm going to select it here.
And now you're back to where we started on the search results page.
Okay, that was our demo. So thanks, Alexis. All right, so I'm going to move along quickly here in the interest of time for Q&A, because we do have a couple of polls as well. So we have two poll questions we'd like to ask. So we had a lot of feedback on our site, as you can imagine, and at the top of our list of enhancements right now is looking at how the search works, right? So there's a lot of different common search algorithms, about 40 of them that really have been around for a long time. And so, we have to make choices about how to configure ours. And we have feedback that tells us that the way that we've configured our search doesn't always provide optimal results for everyone in all cases. So we've been looking at providing some additional options. And so the two mockups that you're about to see are ways that we can enhance and make more options available on the way that keyword search works for you. So what we'd like to do is to show you a mock-up and then ask you to respond to the poll. And it's really just asking you how useful you would find each of these features. If can you look at that feature, see what it is, understand what to do, and find it useful immediately. So if there's so we'd like you to respond to the poll first, but then if there's additional comments that you'd like to enter into the chat, feel free to go ahead and do that as well. If there's things that aren't clear or suggestions that you would have around these mockups, then go ahead and enter those in as well, please. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Alexis to put up the polls.
All right, the poll is open and we have our first mockup on screen.
So if you came to the site and saw this on the site, would you understand what you're looking at and find this useful is really what we're looking for.
I'm going to leave the poll open for about 30 more seconds. We have about 70% of attendees votes in. All right, I'm going to close the poll now. And we'll go to the next mockup. And we'll launch the poll now. And with 70% of the vote in, I'll give it another 30 seconds. All right, closing the polls. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks everyone. And just a reminder, you won't see this next week, but this is at the top of our list of items that we're researching and designing around today. So thank you so much for the input. And with that, I will turn it over to Salome to start looking at questions.
Thank you, Christy. Actually, as you guessed, several of the questions that are coming in are related to the ability to do the Boolean search and, is there anything you can share in terms of what the design of that implementation is going to look like as opposed to and or and how the users are going to affect that?
So if you look at those two mockups that we just had up, those are the two options that we're currently exploring. We've looked at a lot of different ways of doing it. So the first one is supposed to be just a very simple, any words means it's the way that it currently works, where it's going to use or. So if you put in, asphalt, pavement, or cement, it's going to use or, and it's going to give you a large result, right? All words would be using and, so it would have to have both the asphalt, pavement, and cement. So that's going to give you a much narrower, and you're only going to get those highly relevant results if they're out there. And then the exact match would basically be, letter for letter, phrases would have to remain intact. And as we introduce more fuzzy searching capability, the exact match would turn that off. So those are sort of the simple options that we're looking at as an introductory step, with the full up editor where you can go in and put syntax as for more advanced users who really want to put together those much more powerful searches. So one is for a basic use of it, and the other one is for the more advanced users who are used to being able to put together this sort of query.
Great, thank you so much. The next, we're still getting a lot of questions on the availability of the slide, this recording, and the presentation that was played. I would just tell folks to check back on Interact in the next day or so, and they will all be available. Next up, Christy, you might know, as you are more technical than I. She's like, uh-oh. So as you know, right now today, opportunities have a link, and that link begins beta.sam.gov, and then the domain, and then the record. The questions that I'm seeing are, with the integration to SAM and then the name change from beta SAM to regular SAM, I know that they're being redirected at the domain level. The question I have is, will the links themselves still function with that redirect if people have saved links to specific opportunities? And if you don't know, we can address that in writing later. I just figured I would ask.
I think the answer is yes, but I think we should confirm we've definitely had that conversation, and it's been in testing to confirm. So the intent is for that absolutely to work. There's been a lot of testing around that, but we'll put a written answer out there as well, just to confirm that.
Great. I expected that. It made sense that it would work. I usually am not in on those kinds of technical meetings, so I wanted to make sure. I've been trying to answer the questions as we go, but they are starting to pile up.
So I think so is the answer, but we'll confirm.
And I have a question here about being signed out of the system too quickly. I believe the current setup required by our security is that if you are inactive in your browser window for 15 or 20 minutes, you get a notification, and then 5 minutes after that notification, your session will be terminated. So that is something that was mandated by our security and is not going to be configurable. There's a question here about the following list, and I believe that in the May, is it the April or the May, where we've introduced the actual name instead of the record number?
So it's definitely,
I know it's in May for sure.
Yeah, it's in April as well.
Oh, excellent.
But that's another one of those that's really high on our list. We've had, trying to get out from underneath that beta label has been, a huge priority for our program for the last, ever since really FBO launched and some of the other systems. So once we get past that, we do have a list of these high priority enhancements. I know that there's people that want more than just to be able to see that notice ID in that following page. So to go in and really look at the layout of that following list and provide more information, in a little bit easier to digest layout is something that is high on our list. It'll be after the April launch. So there's minor improvements, but it is high on our list to, we're not done once, you know, what you see in April is not going to be the final. We will continue to make that better. Because
and that's actually a great point, I think, is the fact that we do use continuous improvement. So, you know, on every single page in Beta SAM, soon to be just SAM, there is a feedback option. And while we do not respond to the feedback, we do consume it, we do analyze it, and we do provide it to the product owners. And that is how most of the changes that you're going to be seeing in April and May have come about, is a direct result of the feedback we got. So by all means, please don't be shy when you're out and about on Beta SAM. Let us know what is working and what you think could work better. And we will get that information up to the people who can analyze it and make the change. I've seen a few come through on the IVL with everybody being notified. And I think we are going to have to take that back to the product owner because I'm not sure about that behavior. Christy, do you have any insight into that?
Yeah, I think that's something that we're currently working on. This isn't the first time we've heard that. So we can come back, you know, with the written answers and provide when we think that's going to be out there. But I know that's definitely something that is already under development.
Okay, great.
I just have to confirm whether or not that'll be fixed in April or if it's going to be post-April, but we're definitely working on that.
Understood. Meg, do you happen to know when the registration link will go out for the May 5th forum, which will be the one that is specific to the SAM.gov? And the response is she doesn't have it offhand. We generally try to get them out, I believe, a week or two ahead of time. So keep an eye on Interact because we will post it once we are ready and we get that posted there. I know that we are about out of time. So the rest of the questions that we have not answered that are still in the open area, we will definitely respond to in writing when these are all posted on Interact. And I do want to note for the PTACs who are writing in, we have been presenting to PTACs. PTAC organization grew in PTAC groups. We're doing demonstrations and providing information. And I think we have a couple more sessions coming up. But James Jarrety, I believe, is our interface with the PTACs, and we are happy to support however we can.
Yeah, we've got two scheduled presentations coming up, Salome. One related to this launch that I think it's April 30th, and then one that's also for just after the May transition.
Excellent. So PTACs, keep an eye open because we are reaching out to your organizations to try to keep you in the loop as all these changes are coming. And I guess I will hand it back over to you to wrap up, either Christy or Ken.
Yeah, I think that should do it. We'll leave the window open for just a few minutes in case other people want to type in a few last minute questions. Give us a day or two. We'll post this recording. We'll post the slide deck. We'll post some answers to your questions on Interact. I put the link in the regular chat log several times. So hopefully it's there, and hopefully most of you are following us there anyway to begin with. Thank you for joining us today, and also be on the lookout for an invitation to our next Industry Day, which should be coming out in the next week or so. So thank you to everybody.